Hey, time for a new video, and I'm so excited today. So we are doing something that I've wanted to do for so long now, and I can't even express how excited I am because this is the best. This is going to be so great. So we are going to be looking at the illumicrate books that have come in for 3 months. So I have November, December, and January here, and we are going to be reading all of them. So one of the biggest reasons why I'm doing this is I pay for this subscription, so I want to make sure that I'm actually getting use out of it, that I'm actually paying for something that I use and enjoy, you know, like I don't want this to just be money that I'm wasted just on something pretty to be on my shelf. I want to actually read these books and make sure that, yeah, I'm enjoying what I get to. So for that too, like I want to make sure that this subscription is actually going towards books that I do like. Like do I actually enjoy the illumicrate books that come in, or are they mediocre? Like let's see what this is. I've had illumicrate for like 1.5 years now, and I've read probably like half the books that have come in and not the others. So that, yeah, I want to make sure that I'm reading all of them, you know? And then if I do this series for like say a year and realize that, I don't know, maybe I don't enjoy the books that I get, that might make me rethink exactly if this subscription is right for me. So we'll see. So like I said, I have 3 months of books that we're going to be reading this week. So November, there was The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. December, The Red Scholar's Wake by Aliette de Bodra. And in January, it was God Killer by Hannah Kenner. So that is the TBR for this week. These 3 books. I believe God Killer and Luminaries are fantasy, and then The Red Scholar's Wake is sci-fi, so this will be really interesting. So just a bit about the Luminaries before I dive in. This is about a small town which has a group of people who are known as the Luminaries, which is, I believe, this magical type group who works to protect the world from evil creatures. And we are following a young woman who is desperate to come join them. Just popping in to say I have started The Luminaries by Susan Dennard. Love this edition. Like I'm so shocked at how beautiful this is. And I'm about 40 pages into it so far. So basically, so far it's just been like set up for this world and our characters and kind of like what's going on. So we're in this world where there are nightmares that it sounds like they're either nightmares or some type of creatures of the dark that come out and prey on humans during the night. So there's 7 clans, each of them named after a day of the week, and they each have a day or a night, I guess, where they patrol the woods, patrol the world, and destroy all of these nightmares before they're able to kill humans. So we're following this girl, Winnie. She's Winnie Wednesday. She's of the Wednesday clan. So she is part of this group that helps protect people. Several years before, her father had been discovered to be a spy for this mysterious group that seemingly either is working with the nightmares or wanting to take down these clans. But he was discovered to be a spy, and since then, Winnie's mother and her mother and her brother have all been deemed as outcasts for 10 years or so. Winnie is desperate to regain status within the society because she desperately wants to be a hunter, who is one of the people who like really actively goes out and hunts down all of these nightmarish creatures, all of that. So it is her 16th birthday. That is the date where you take this trial to see if you can become a hunter, and she is determined that no matter what, she is still going to get into this trial. So that is basically where we are right now. This is really giving like those classic YA vibes, like really like cozy, small town, magical YA. One of the few times recently that I've actually really enjoyed YA, so that is a huge bonus. Or so far at least. So far I'm at like actually digging the vibes of this, and makes me really excited to keep going. I have a good feeling that I might enjoy this. I don't think it's going to be spectacular, but I do think that I am going to enjoy it at least. So, finished Luminaries. I don't remember how much I updated on the plot, but essentially we're following Winnie, who's a teenage girl, in this world where like nightmares come to life. So there's a society called the Luminaries, which are like hunters or just like various people who are in charge of like tracking down all of these nightmares that come to life. And the nightmares are like monsters, basically. So they're in charge of tracking them down and killing them. So Winnie's family is an outcast within the society because their father was found to be a traitor like 4 years before, and ever since their father's disappeared and the rest of the family has been essentially shunned by the entire society. So Winnie decides that she is going to find a way back into the society. So when the Luminary kids turn 16, they're able to compete in the hunter trials, essentially to become part of the hunters, obviously. And so Winnie sneaks out and starts like going through these trials. So a lot of the story is just her like competing in these 3 trials that you have to go through to become a hunter. At the same time, like she's spending a lot more time out in the forest than ever has been before there, and she encounters what seems to be like a new monster that has never been seen before. It seems to be like so much more deadly than anything else they've previously experienced, and she is trying to figure out what is going on with that because it might have like insane repercussions on the society. Same time, nobody's believing her because why would they trust a 16-year-old girl who has no idea what she's talking about? I thought this was super fast paced. It was very fun. It wasn't anything like, it was like a very, very easy read. Nothing that complicated happened, but it was a very good mind break and just good distraction for a bit. So honestly, like the biggest complaint that I have about it is I feel like the ending just was way too abrupt, and it kind of hinted at a few things that will be like happening in the next book, which I'm definitely going to pick up. I'm feeling very intrigued about it and very ready for it, but like it hinted at a few things at the end that would really have been more interesting to explore a bit more in this book, just to kind of really get that tension up for the next one. And yeah, I felt like the ending was very sudden. Like it basically, she goes through the trials and then it ends, and I really would have liked to see a bit more or have like a bit more of a fleshed out ending. Otherwise, really good, really solid book, really solid like YA book. It was very YA. It felt very young, but I can't really take that as a criticism because it's centering high school students, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. So the next one that I'm going to pick up is The Red Scholar's Wake by Aliette de Bodin, and showing the edition. I really love these ombre edges. I think these are always like so pretty. And then, okay, so these are the inside edges, and then yeah, this is just the hardback. So let me take a look at what this one's actually about. So this is supposed to be a space opera that's set during a world where there's like an interstellar war against piracy. So we're following 5 fleets that are like fighting against each other and just trying to survive throughout this. Very excited. I am very much in the mood for a sci-fi right now, so this works perfectly. So a lot of sci-fi books have complicated plots, and like that's something I'm really used to, but there's complicated for a reason versus needlessly complicated for just the sake of it. And I feel like this one is definitely falling into the latter category of it is very complicated and hard to understand for essentially no reason whatsoever. So let's talk about what I've read so far, and I'm like 130 pages into it. So I am very confused, and I am not that interested. So in this world, I would say there's like this pirate society, and there's these different fleets. It sounds like there's like 5 or 6 of them who are all named after a different color. And on each of them, there is a scholar who is known as the head of the ship. They're like the captain. And then there is, what do they describe it as? And then on a lot of ships, there's the consort, who is obviously usually their spouse or somebody who's in a secondary place who is essentially like the heir to the ship. So in this book, we have the Red Scholar, who has just died in this war of, I believe it's the government against these pirates, and her wife, who is their ship's sentient mind, who is able to take on a humanoid appearance, but is also at the same time the entire living embodiment of the ship. So she is the ship is the consort, and after the scholar dies, the consort decides that she needs to take a new wife who will essentially like help with this void of power. So there's this other woman who was taken prisoner by the pirates in a recent raid, and I believe she had some kind of experience in this world, some kind of military experience or something. So the consort essentially decides to take her as her wife, and just purely for like a business transaction type of thing, and entirely like a contractual relationship. And now we're just following as the new wife is trying to figure out pirate society and help navigate this relationship between the Red Fleet and all of the other pirate ships, and at the same time trying to figure out who caused the death of the previous Red Scholar, because it seems like they might have a traitor within their fleet, or one of the other ships betrayed them. So they're trying to figure this out. Like, that in itself feels like a very basic premise. It feels very easy to follow, but for some reason the actual writing of this feels so ridiculously convoluted and very, very hard to actually track what's happening. And it took me so long to process like what is going on within this society. I feel like a lot of the characters are very flat also, so we don't really learn that much about them. There's very minimal description of like the setting, which is really, making it a struggle to like actually picture what's going on. And I'm not particularly enjoying the conversation as well. Like, I find the dialogue to be very stilted, so it's not really gripping me in any way right now, and I'm not particularly enjoying it. Yeah, it just feels very complicated for what is actually happening, and what is happening is not that interesting in many ways. So yeah, I went into this one with like a really good feeling, and now I'm really not feeling anything good about it. You know what time it is? Time for another reading update, and I cannot even express how disappointed I am in this book. So you tell me sapphic pirates in space, and immediately that sounds like the most fun, adventurous, interesting book ever. This was not it. This was nowhere close. This was so boring. I am in shock at how boring this book was. The conversations were so flat, the characters were flat, had no interest whatsoever in anything that was going on. And yeah, I think I was saying earlier, the writing was weird in that there was no descriptions whatsoever. I found it so hard to keep track of the characters because half of them were sentient ships who were I'm not sure if they were just in a humanoid projection, or if they were some kind of robotic body, whatever, but I was so confused at a lot of it, especially this is just a random aside, but one of the main characters is a sentient ship who is named Ricefish, and I don't know why, but that confused the hell out of me. And I genuinely have no idea how they got from point A to falling in love, because I don't feel like a single thing actually happened in between, aside from the fact that they've realized they're attracted to each other and had sex. I don't feel like there was anything else to essentially necessitate them falling in love, aside from essentially our pirate explaining to the ship that she is worthy of love as well. And yeah, I don't really believe the relationship. I don't feel like it was anything realistic. I mean, how realistic can it be if one of them's a ship? But I don't understand how they fell for each other. And then part of it is so I'm not sure if they're Chinese honorifics. I might be entirely wrong by this, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, but there were certain honorifics that I don't know, I just found very weird, in that the wives in this relationship were calling each other little sister and big sister, and that just really threw me. And I don't know if this is common in real life or what, but it just really, really confused me as well. So yeah, there's a relationship between a sentient ship and somebody who's been taken hostage by the pirates, and they essentially go into this marriage as a business contract and slowly come to form an actual relationship. So I am so disappointed, and I'm going to be giving this one a 2-star because there was nothing at all interesting about it. It's one that if I did not own, I would 100% would have DNF'd pretty early on, but I am weirdly hesitant about DNFing books that I physically own, because I feel if I spend the money on it, I want to get my worth out of it, even if I hate that. Which this is something I need to work on, but I have no problem DNFing a library book, but if it's a book I own, no chance. And yeah, I love this cover. I love this cover. I love these sprayed edges. I love these ombre sprayed edges. I love all of this, and I'm so upset at how much I hated this book. That was so disappointing. And seeing now that I'm at like, I'd say the Luminaries was a 3-star, this is a 2-star, like, oof, this is not making me feel great about the last few months of illumicrate books. And then, so I have the next book I'm going into, which is God Killer. Again, gorgeous edition. They they hit it out of the park every single time. And that is one thing that I will never fail to be impressed with, is how good they are doing with these editions. I just really hope that like my enthusiasm for the books can actually match how beautiful they are. So I'm literally like, I'd say 20 pages into this one. I don't necessarily have like a good enough grip on it to really get into the plot, but we're in this world where gods are alive, and we're following a woman who, when she was a kid, her family pledged allegiance to the wrong god and were essentially killed because of this. And since then, she has, I'm assuming, sworn revenge against all gods and is now part of this group of mercenaries who goes across the lands killing them out. Because it sounds like there was, at some point, this gigantic war between the gods and the humans, and humans at the end of it decided that they no longer want gods in their world. So I'm really interested about it. I'm really hoping I like this one. I have a good feeling about it, but we will definitely see when I check in. I really have like nothing at all to say about this book. Like, I'm halfway through right now, and I'm just like not feeling it. I'm just not really feeling it at all. We're in this world, there's like a war with the gods, and now most of the gods are like outlawed essentially. So there's this group of god killers who are contracted by the king, and they just go through the lands and kill any gods who like have contracts open for them or who are causing like disturbances. So we're following this one woman who has been a god killer her whole life. That's what she's been trained to do. And she comes across this young girl who has a god who somehow has managed to like attach himself to this girl. So it's like he somehow managed to be like sort of in her body, and like he can also personify himself in like physical form, but he's like essentially living inside of her. So this is like the one god who she can't really kill, because it's safe to assume that if she does so, it would kill this young girl, and they don't want to kill her. So they are going on this adventure to try and like, I feel like it's a city that was destroyed in the gods war. So they're going there to try and find some type of solution to getting the girl and this god separated, so that, I don't know, maybe they can kill him, but they don't really seem to want to. They seem like the little girl is like, really does not want to be separated from this god, and it's fine. It's not really doing much for me. I'm really disappointed. I thought that this was going to be like a book that I would really enjoy, because the premise sounds so interesting. Like, even the cover, gorgeous. Like, I really thought that this would be one that would be gripping, but it's kind of just boring. Like, I don't particularly care that much about it. I really wish they got more into the mythology of these gods and like talked more about them, because right now they're just more of like something that's mentioned on the side, not really integral to like the plot as much. And yeah, I really wish we had more information about this war that had happened, and just the gods themselves and their powers and their mythology, and like why people are trying to kill them off so much. I'm about 50-ish% in, I'm gonna guess right now, and I'm really hoping that this takes like a significantly better turn towards the end, because otherwise this would have been like 3 really disappointing books in a row, which I'm hoping not. I seem to be like in the really low minority of this one, just based entirely like off of the Goodreads reviews that I'm reading, but was not it for me. Really, really not it. I would like put this at like 2.5 stars. I'm going to round it up to a 3, but it was not it. So the prologue was incredibly interesting, and it set the stage for like such an interesting story. So essentially you're seeing this family who they have devoted their life to worshiping this one god, and another god comes into the territory, and overall their village decides to, instead of worshiping the sea god they always had been, to instead go for this fire god. So the villagers decide that to win over the fire god's favor, they're going to sacrifice this one family who's known of being like very well-known supporters of the sea god. So our main character, Kissin, who is the god killer, her family is all drugged and tied up to be burned alive as a sacrifice, and her father essentially manages to get her free. And we start from here of like her story of wanting revenge on gods who have created this horrible thing in her life. And that sounded so good. That gripped me so much. But then after that, nothing felt interesting. I'd say like 70% of the book or so, like I was just slogging through trying to get done. And towards the end, the action actually did pick up and it got a bit more interesting, but it dragged so much. Then we got like quite a few different perspectives that we read from, but I found I only really enjoyed the main character, who would be the titular god killer, and none of the other ones I particularly enjoyed or really like cared that much about. One of the characters was from a young girl, and that one just really fell completely flat for me. I don't think it was that great. And I do wish we got more about the gods. I feel like there was a lot of missed opportunity to really give us more about the gods themselves, and like, I don't know, just learning more about their personalities, their motivations, everything, aside from just like, oh, they want to be worshipped, blah blah blah. And I really felt like that was majorly missing in this one. So I'm definitely disappointed, and especially seeing how many people seem to love this one, I feel like I've definitely missed out on something, but was not for me, unfortunately. And with that, I am ending off this vlog. So I read 3 books, the November, December, and January illumicrate books, and unfortunately, these were clearly 3 very just non-interesting books for me, I guess. The Luminaries, hands down the best one that I read out of this video. It was, I would say, like a 3-star, but it was a very solid 3. It was honestly like a very solid YA book. And honestly, the main reason that I didn't love it is just I'm not a YA reader anymore. So I always just go into that review with a grain of salt of that. I'm not the target audience. I'm not necessarily going to love it, but I think it was a very fun book and I will continue on in that series. Then getting to the Red Scholar's Wake, like that major miss for me. That one, oh God, I don't know what was happening. I feel like so much was just like not going well in that one. And yeah, again, the premise sounded very interesting, but it failed on so many counts. And then now the January book, God Killer, very disappointed. I thought I was going to love this one. I genuinely thought that this was going to be like one of my new favorite books of the year, and I am sad. I am very sad. I'm really hoping that when I get around to doing the next installation of this, it will be considerably better, because the books, again, they look interesting. They sound like stuff I'm going to like, so I just really hope this actually follows through. So that's going to be it for today. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. There's lots of exciting videos coming up, and I'll see you guys in the next one.